Hey, welcome to Medical Sales U, and we're excited about this session here. Today, I want to talk about the 3 C's that you need to break into medical sales. And that is number 1, being coachable, coachability. Number 2, curiosity. Are you curious? And then number 3, collaboration. Okay, we're going to jump into it. The 3 C's that you need for medical sales: coachability, curiosity, and collaboration. These are so essential. There's an old proverb that says, no one wins unless he competes according to the rules. In fact, that's actually in the scripture. Paul was reminding a young man who wanted to be a leader, his name was Timothy, that if you want to be a leader, no one wins unless he competes according to the rules. And I remember first hearing this, and I'm like, well, duh, that's common sense. But so many of you want to get into medical sales, you want to get into pharmaceutical sales, and you don't know the rules. I mean, you might have a biology degree, you might have experience in sales, and you might have this can-do attitude that you're going to do it on your own. But this is very unique. And working, applying to a job, say a Stryker or a Medtronic, Johnson & Johnson, that has both device and pharmaceutical and specialty in oncology and diagnostics, you have to understand the rules. Some of you are going about it on your own. And so we want to talk about this a little bit. How do you compete? What are the rules in applying to a job in medical device or pharmaceutical? And so many of you will say, well, I can just figure it out on my own. I can figure it out on my own. I want to do it on my own. I want to just kind of explore because I realize that your program charges a lot of money and I just don't want to pay for it. I'm going to figure it out on my own. And then months go by and you don't get it. I hear the excuses. One guy has his MBA, he's a nurse. He had all this experience, and yet he comes to me, he starts complaining that he showed up with the wrong color suit in the interview. He might have had like a green plaid suit or something. This guy's really artsy. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, yeah, you think you can do it on your own. And the problem isn't with the hiring manager, it's with you because you don't understand the rules. And yet in every single job, some people don't go to an interview. Maybe they don't wear a suit. They don't wear a tie. In the interview, whether it's Zoom, they don't look at the camera. They stumble their way through the process. There's a lot of rules. We're going to talk about those. And I know a lot of you think that you'll figure it out on your own. And if you can, that's great. I hope you do. But if you can't, here's what I'm asking. Set at least a deadline. That if you can't do it, you'll come back and you'll find a coach. And if not me, you'll find another coach. But I'm here to help you. A lot of people put a lot of money into formal education. For example, at Harvard, 90 days after graduating, 23% of Harvard MBA students don't have a job. They don't have a job. To get your MBA at Harvard is very selective. It costs you $150,000. Now, let's just talk about your undergraduate degree. For your undergraduate degree, if you go to a top 50 school ranking, with your tuition, with all your coverage, with your books, your expenses, it will cost you with your tuition and living expenses $250,000. My brother's a professor at Baylor. And, fortunately his sons will go there for free, but there's so many, you have family like this too. You have these people who place so much emphasis on formal education. And yet the average salary of graduation coming out of the school is just $60,000. And we have students who pay for private education and they come out of college only making $60,000. I hate to break it to you, but if you want to live, if you want to thrive, not just live in debt or have your parents, cover your expenses, you have to make more than $60,000 coming out of college. Even coming out of college, you have to make more than that. I haven't heard any of them focus on cancer. There's more money going into cancer than any other, specialty. And a lot of us have been part of that, right? We've been part of causes. We've had someone that we love, who we care about, maybe die of cancer, who got cancer. And there's a lot of innovation in this. And so that's why I started Medical Sales U, is I wanted to help people to break into medical sales, and not just device, but also cancer testing. We just had someone land a job with Tempest. They're making substantially more than what they were previously making. We want to help people to get into specialty pharmaceutical sales, but we're also helping people with device. There's a lot of innovation in device. And so if you want to do it on your own, if you say, well, I don't want to get a coach, I'm just going to listen to the free stuff that you have, Dave, and I'm just going to try to, do it on my own. This is what I would say to you. I hope you get a job, but, set a deadline. Say that within 90 days, within 60 days, if I don't have a job by this, I'm going to find a coach to invest in me. And so in this program, I was just talking to and by the way, for all of you who have signed up for this and you're paying for the program, I'm excited for our conversations that we're going to have about this, because you're going to learn a lot today. You're going to learn a lot about leadership, and you're going to learn about having a spirit of curiosity and collaboration. And yet that's going to help you too to, as you're coachable, you're going to collaborate with your peers in our cohort as well. So, I was just talking to a young man in his 20s, and he graduated from a private college. And out of college, he's only making $40,000 a year. He's got like a pre-med biology background. And I said, okay, I want you to give me a yes or no if you're going to do this program. And he's just like, I just want to do it on my own. And I thought to myself, you can't afford not to do this. You're broke. If you're making only $40,000 or $60,000 today, you're broke. I'm sorry to break it to you, but you're broke. I mean, teachers make more than 40 or 60. And I have teachers come to me all the time wanting to break into medical sales. I was a teacher for a couple of years, and I was teaching at a private school, getting paid less than public school teachers. And here's the thing. A lot of you men, you want to get married. You want to be a leader. You want to have a family. For example, my wife, she doesn't work outside the home. We have, we just had a baby. And I provide, we have a 15-year mortgage. We will pay this off early before that. And I can help you too. This industry, this career of medical sales will save your life, and it will help save the lives of other people. In other words, you'll have this new confidence being in medical sales. And it's not the only way. There's other industries out there where you can make a lot of money. But this is a path. It's not the only path, but it is a path for some of you. And for those of you who signed up, welcome to the course. We are excited that you're going through this information, and we're excited to have you in our next cohort as well. But it's time to do something. I told that one guy on the phone, hey, you need to make up your mind what you're going to do. It may not be Medical Sales U, but it's time to do something. Medical sales isn't the only career path, but it's one where your first year earnings, you're going to make over $100,000. Unless you're an associate. In some of those associate roles, you might make $80K, but you're not going to stay there long. And once you're promoted out of that associate role, you're going to be making $150,000, $200,000. If you're just average in your sales, you can double that $100,000 and make over $200K by year 3. And that's just if you're average. Some of the best of you will be making way more than that. It's time to do something. But a lot of you don't know the rules. You don't know how to interview. You don't know how to identify the hiring manager. A lot of you just go and you apply and you say, oh, I'm trying to network a little bit on LinkedIn. I saw this posting. I want to pick your brain. But you're not supposed to do that. Do you not know the drug that you're going to be selling? Do you not know the device? Have you talked to any team members within that division on LinkedIn? Do you know the hiring manager? Do you know what accounts? Do you know why the position is even vacant? And then with your brag book and your 30, 60, 90, is it just general? Are you just spitting it into ChatGPT, making it real general, or is it customized? Do you know the clinical trials that helped with the FDA approval? Do you know your competition and what their major clinical trials were? Do you know the efficacy of your drug and the concerns over side effects as well? Do you understand the complexities of that? And here's another thing. When you went to apply to a job, did you have an internal referral? There's a timeline here. You have to get an internal referral and you need to do it early. And it's better if that internal referral is within that team, within that division. Are they going to bat for you? See, medical sales isn't for people who just want to do the same old, apply to jobs and then make excuses of what why they didn't hire you. I hear people say things, well, I didn't go to the right college. Let me tell you, it has nothing to do with it. Well, I don't have a business background. I don't have sales experience. These are not excuses. But this career, this industry, whether it's device or pharmaceutical, it can change your life. And this course, as we're going to be building upon it, as you study this, as we talk about it today, it's going to help you compete against those who have years of experience. It's going to help you compete against those who came out of Harvard, that they're going to want to hire you over them. And you're going to be able to win, and you will be promoted if you do what I tell you in this course. Sadly, a lot of people who listen to me, talk to me, will still be the same place, and they won't advance. Let's talk about these 3 C's: coachability, curiosity, and collaboration. Coachability, curiosity, and collaboration. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, says it's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. And I think sometimes, especially with seasoned reps who reach out to me, who want to get into oncology, because they know I'm in cancer. They know I sell a new FDA-approved treatment in cancer. And they know, there's a lot of money in cancer. Pharmaceutical rep, they'll see the posting online and it says base salary anywhere from 150 to 210. That's just the base. And they're like, oh, I want to get into cancer. And they come to me because they have 20 years of pharma experience. And I start to talk to them. And then I realize, sometimes in pharma, once you get in, it's really hard to get in. But once you're in, sometimes these people, they just don't grow that much. And they stay stagnant and they're not teachable. And maybe if they've been in for 20 years at one of the big, large pharma companies, most of them probably have a 401k of a couple $1 million if they were putting money in there and getting the match. If they had some stock, they might have another $1 million or $2 million with their stock. If they're with one of the companies like, J&J, they probably have a pension. And yet they reach out to me and they want to get into oncology, but they're uncoachable. And I just want to say all of us need good coaches. King Solomon in Proverbs, the old wisdom book, says plans go wrong for the lack of advice, but many advisors bring success. We all need advisors. I have a coach. He is helping me and advising me of how to build this course, how to coach you, how to take the insights that I'm learning and make it more applicable to you, so that you can win, so that you can succeed, so that you can continue to move up the ladder. But the problem is modern isolation, the fear of conflict. People in today's society are so connected to their phone, but we're losing that aspect of a real life mentor. So they scroll endlessly and they don't take action. And maybe when they were in the industry, I have people in device who want to get into oncology pharmaceutical. Maybe when they were in the industry, their hiring manager was of such of a personality that they felt like they couldn't be honest with them. And so they performed for them in a certain way when they did their field rides and so forth like that, but they really never grew. And so in today's, society in which there's that temptation, I get it. There's this temptation to want to scroll and not create it. But a good coach is going to build that, he's going to bring or she's going to bring that healthy conflict. They're going to push you. They're going to challenge you. They're going to correct you. They're going to help you grow. My first ride along, I remember getting into medical sales back in 2016 when I was brand new. And to be honest with you, it was a disaster. Bud Bender had gone to bat for me even though I had no experience. And he told the VP of the company, Dave Starrett, you have to hire him. I get it. He doesn't have sales experience. He's kind of got this religious, ministry background, but I think he's going to be very successful. And so Bud went to bat for me. But when I did the ride along, I was not prepared. I was not prepared in my pre-call planning. We'll talk about that more in this course, but I remember getting shut down by a nurse manager and my boss Bud, afterwards, he talked to me and he, asked me what the F was I thinking. And I remember he was in the car with me. He was, he loved his music, and it was an interesting ride back, going from Longview, Texas, and going out to Longview and Tyler, and then back to Dallas. And I remember, that ride back, he was, he cussed me out, and it was tough in that situation. And, he was one of those ones with that tough personality. He was a number one sales rep, and he was promoted because he was number one in the company. And he just had grit. He worked 7 days a week. He worked extremely hard. And I remember, he actually feeling kind of bad after he cussed me out. And he knew I was a person of faith. So he actually put on some Christian music. He said, "Hey, this is Chris Tomlin. I've been listening to this." And he kind of opened up to me, and I started asking some questions. I said, "Hey, so you're interested in faith?" And then he just started kind of opening up his whole life to me. And he was going through a divorce, and he had gone through some really tough times. And but I remember he softened his whole tone. He was hard on me as a coach, but looking back, he was right, because I didn't do my pre-call planning. And even though his personality might have had some quirks, and we all do, right? We all have some quirks. And when we have to do a field ride, maybe you're in the car with someone, sometimes it's uncomfortable, okay? But we need a coach, and we need someone who will speak the truth to us, even if it's a tough conversation. With that situation with Bud Bender, I ended up doing really well. And later that year, I got a new manager. He was promoted again. And I remember at the end of the year, I won President's Club. And to my surprise, right before the President's Club trip, right before the trip, I remember I was shocked when I heard the news that Bud Bender passed away. And I was shocked, because he was the one who went to bat for me. He was the one who believed in me. And yet he passed away unexpectedly. And, he just worked so hard. And I remember there was an award they gave me in honor of him at President's Club called the Bud Bender Award. And they gave it every year after me. And so, Bud, even though it was a hard conversations that we had, I learned from him. I grew from him, and we were able to grow together and have lots of conversations. I remember him tell me over and over to demonstrate the device, practice. And here's the thing. You need a coach. We all need a coach, because many of you don't know the rules. You don't know how to interview effectively. You don't know how to network properly on LinkedIn. You don't even know how to send a message on LinkedIn that will, generate a response from that person. And so we will talk about these things in the course. If you're serious about medical sales, find a mentor, invest in coaching, be coachable. Your first year, you're going to make $100K. But if you refuse coaching, medical sales isn't for you. Find the right coach. Think about football. The head coach may not be the fastest guy, may not be the most fit guy. Andy Reid is not Patrick Mahomes. You look at Patrick Mahomes and you can be amazed, whether you like their team or not. You may not like the Chiefs or not, but let's be honest. The guy is a winner, okay? He does some extraordinary things with the football. But the coach may not be the most fit or the fastest guy on the field, but that doesn't mean that he can't coach. Likewise, some of you have sought out advice from other medical sales reps. I remember the first medical sales rep I met. I remember it was actually a pastor at my church. Jonathan Pacluto was his name. And he told me that, hey, Dave, I get you want to go into ministry, but you should go, think about getting into medical sales. I want you to go meet this guy. So I met this guy to learn about it. And once I met with this guy to learn about his company, to learn about medical sales, he was shocked that I was not prepared. And he himself was a very good rep, but he wasn't about to invest in me to kind of push me so that I would succeed. But I knew another guy. His name was Jared, and Jared was not just a good sales rep, but he was a coach. That guy, Bud Bender, I mentioned earlier. Well, how did I meet Bud? Well, Jared introduced me through LinkedIn. Bud was actually recruiting Jared, and Jared said, hey, I'm not looking for a new position. Why don't you talk to Dave, interview him, give him the opportunity? But yet Jared told me, I was about to go to the interview, and Jared said, where's your brag book? Are you prepared for this? And I'm like, I didn't even know what a brag book was. And he coached me and guided me step by step through the process. And I took some of those concepts and I started developing them. And people came to me. And here's the point I want to say. Find the right coach. Kobe Bryant was the greatest basketball player in the world in 2008. But Coach K from Duke took over Team USA. Team USA had lost back in 2004. It's an embarrassment to American basketball. And when Coach K took over, Kobe was the captain. But Coach K was not just a legendary coach. He realized that the American basketball team needed to start showing support for other teams. Now, Coach K was a West Point graduate. He actually coached at West Point. And he was very disciplined. And when he was brought on to coach what it was called the Redeem team, he had Kobe, LeBron, D. Wade was on that team. And his influence was he forced the team USA to see a bigger mission. And so not just to cheer on each other, but to go show up to the other events, to support them as well. And then he brought in military leaders to talk to the basketball players. And he said, you don't realize it, but many of you inspire the military leaders as well. And so, Coach K influenced Kobe, who was the greatest basketball player in the world at this time. But Kobe, and here's my point, you can be the best, but even the best still need coaches. Kobe said of Coach K, he helped us to see that we as athletes are an inspiration to the men and women that protect the freedom we enjoy. And that's the biggest impact. To realize that as an Olympian, you are inspiring those who are on the front lines fighting for our freedom. And so Coach K was able to even instill some truths to the greatest basketball player in the world at that time. What about Michael Jordan? By the late 80s, Michael Jordan was the best player in the world. But the Detroit Pistons beat him up. They knocked him down. Isaiah Thomas, Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer. And back in those days in the late 80s, you were allowed to be more physical. They called it the Jordan rules. They were brutal. They hit him. They knocked him to the ground, and they tried to wear him out. Jordan would drive to the basket, often being triple teamed, and they would try to hit him as hard as they could and knock him to the ground. And Michael Jordan, even though he was the greatest basketball player in the world, he still had this drive to win a national championship. And what he did is Jordan had enough. He had enough, so he got another strength coach Tim Grover. That's a picture of Tim Grover. He's a motivational speaker now. And Jordan decided to start putting on muscle, even lifting on game days. That was unheard of basketball players. Everybody knew that Jordan was extraordinary. He could dunk it from the foul line. He was the slam dunk champion. He had these large hands in which he could palm the basketball and do some extraordinary things with the basketball in his hands. And yet, he put on 15 pounds of muscle. This is what Jordan said. I want to start giving the punishment, not taking it. I want to start giving the punishment, not taking it. So what did the greatest basketball player in the world do? He had a coach. He hired another coach, someone who would coach him in basketball so that he could grow and become tougher. And a lot of you in medical cells, you need to get tougher. You need to change your life. And whether it's this industry or another industry, you need to surround yourselves by the right coach, the right people who will take you to the next level. You need to have better teammates. Some of you need a new team because you're hanging around people that are just mediocre. Often your wealth and your habits will be a reflection of the 5 people that you're closest to. And let me be honest, the 5 people that you're the closest to right now are mediocre losers. They're not disciplined. They're not waking up early in the morning. They're just barely getting by. They're drinking too much. And a lot of you need to succeed. In order to succeed, you need to get yourself around better people. Find another coach. And I think in medical cells, this will be an industry that you can succeed. But it starts with finding the right coach, finding the right teammates. And you're going to find that here in Medical Cells U, because the people that are part of this course, I don't just accept anybody. I've told people, I don't think this is the best for you. I really don't think this is a good fit for you. But the people that are in here, you're going to learn from them. And when they get job offers and you learn from their success stories, you will grow as well. What about Jesse Itzler? He's a successful entrepreneur. He's the co-owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He's married to the founder of Spinks, Sarah Blakely. And he's an ultra marathoner. He is a runner. And he has prided himself in endurance. And he thought he was mentally tough. But what does he do? Many of you know this story. You know exactly what he did. He was at an event and he saw David Goggins, the Navy SEAL. Now, this was before Goggins was famous. And he saw this man, he said he looked about, 260 pounds, pushing human limits to the edge of insanity. He was competing in a 24-hour ultra marathon. Now, I've done a half marathon a number of times, but this is a 24-hour ultra marathon. And Itzler says, while most runners had a full crew, nutritional plans, soft recovery stations, Goggins was there, the only one out there solo, with a folding chair, a bottle of water, and a box of crackers. He ran 100 miles on broken feet, and he didn't quit. Now, a lot of you think you're David Goggins, but I hate to break it to you, you're not. Most of you are not Jesse Itzler. None of you are. I do believe that some of you will do extraordinary things, but you need a coach. That's what I want to do. I want to be your coach. I'm a great coach, but there's other good coaches out there as well. But if you want to succeed in medical device, in specialty pharmaceutical, like in oncology, cancer testing, genetic testing that's leveraging AI, I'm your man. I'm going to help you get to the next level. But you have to do what I tell you that you need to do. Now, Goggins didn't just come to Coach Itzler. He came to break him. Now, if you're in sales, you got to get the audiobook. It's entertaining. Look at that endorsement from LeBron. It's hilarious. Get the book, Living with a SEAL. Day 1, Itzler was feeling good. Goggins took one look at him and said, "Get your ass outside." Day 2, it was freezing. And Goggins made Itzler jump into an icy lake. No excuses. Day 3, Goggins made him do 100 pull-ups. Itzler tapped out. Goggins looked at him and said, "We don't stop when we're tired. We stop when we're done." Week 2, Goggins had Itzler running in the middle of the night, shirtless, screaming at him the whole time. Or I think it was snowing. but you have to listen to the audiobook. It's entertaining, and this will inspire you. And by the way, check out the books by Goggins as well. Goggins was a coach. Here's the key takeaway. Not every successful person is the best coach. A football coach might be small, they might be overweight, they might be out of shape. They might not have been the best player. I don't ever remember hearing about Coach K, dunking from the foul line. I don't remember his stats as a basketball player, but you know what? He was one of the greatest coaches ever. And similarly, you might have talked to a sales manager. You might have talked to someone in sales who was maybe top of their company, but how many people are they helping break in? Now, we started this less than a year ago. Our program is newer than a lot of programs out there, but we're helping people get into not just device, but AI, cancer testing, breaking in at over 200K. Not just pharma, but especially pharmaceutical, where there's all this innovation in cancer. We're helping people break in. We can help you too, okay? Here's the next thing that we all need to inspire and grow to. We need to be curious. The mind that separates the good reps from the great reps is that spirit of curiosity. If you want to break into medical sales, curiosity isn't optional, it's essential. And we have to take the initiative to ask great questions. And unfortunately, many people just ask lazy, unresearched questions. I get all the time on LinkedIn, hey, I see your program here. Can I pick your brain? Well, what about? Oh yeah, I see that you have this podcast, and I know someone who wants to get into medical sales. My nephew, and I was wondering if you can talk to them. But rather than that, a lot of you call on doctors, but you haven't researched them. You haven't understood you haven't done pre-call planning to really understand that physician, to understand their needs, to look at the data, to see their ordering patterns of what they've already been doing. And when you go to talk to them, you talk rather than asking the right questions to help you to really discover, what is in the mind of that physician. And, Steve Jobs said that the most important thing is to have curiosity in a beginner's mind, because even when you're an expert, there's always something new to learn. So the whole advice that we hear, there's no dumb questions. Well, there can be dumb questions if asked at the wrong time. For example, if you reach out to another rep, you're wanting to network before you apply to a job, and you see the posting of the position, and on the job description, it tells you what disease state it is, but you haven't done your research to do a Google search. Okay, what products does, Amgen have in breast cancer, lung cancer? And you haven't done your research, and you're just reaching out to that rep, or they might even tell you on the job description what the drug is. And you haven't researched that drug, and then you ask someone from that company, or even ask that hiring manager just something really general where you could have done your homework before. That is a dumb question. So when you ask those elementary questions, ask them to yourself early, and be wise. And when you ask those questions to someone else, because even when you're doing the preliminary conversations, you want to do your homework when you talk to these other reps, and you don't want to let your guard down too much, because these other reps will talk to the hiring manager, and you want to kind of treat it, even though you're conversational, but keep in mind that what is covered in that conversation will go to the hiring manager. So you need to be prepared, not too cocky either, confident in asking wise, good questions. Before you ask, research. If you meet with a successful medical sales rep, don't ask, well, how did I get into the industry? Instead, ask, what's the hardest part about breaking in for you? If you can look back when you got in 8 years ago, what was the most difficult thing in your journey? And if you had it to do all over again, what would you have done differently? When you talk to other reps, when you collaborate with your teammates, what skill do you wish more reps had? When you collaborate with your teammates, when you've worked with an associate, Tell me about your best associate. What skill sets do they have? What are your biggest challenges? From what I've understood, your competition is so-and-so and so-and-so. When you're calling on your hospitals and doctors talk about the competition, what is the biggest challenge that you're facing? And how can an associate help you to succeed in this position? So come to those conversations, those phone conversations with insights, and think through. Write down some of the questions so that you'll be prepared. Take a genuine interest in the people you meet. When you're in a physician's office, become a great observer. I remember walking into my dentist's office back in Dallas. I noticed the beautiful artwork and I said, tell me about this artwork. And come to find out, the physician, the dentist, was the one who did all that artwork. So become a great noticer. Doctor, what's the biggest challenge that you see in treating this particular disease? You've been treating this disease for a while. You know, I understand that you've been using this drug that's kind of been the standard of care for a number of years. But back before, if you kind of look back when it was brand new, what factors influenced you to make the decision to start using this treatment? Was it the mechanism of action, or what was it about this drug that made sense for you in treating this rare disease? And if you could change just one thing about the landscape, the treating landscape today, what would it be? The more you can ask these insightful questions to the doctor will help you to then discover how you can present the information that you want to share with them. Learn about the entire ecosystem. A great sales rep, pharmaceutical, medical device, doesn't just understand the product. They understand the whole healthcare system. They ask questions, well, how do insurance challenges impact your ability to prescribe? What are the most influential deciding factors that you put, to put on a new cancer drug, to put this new cancer drug on formulary? Do your cancer patients typically prefer chemotherapy or a chemo-free targeted approach if that approach is available? How do you make those decisions? And the more you can ask these questions, you start to learn about the entire ecosystem of the hospital, of the healthcare facility. You also want to adopt what is called the reporter mindset. I adapt this a little bit from the legendary investor Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett said, the best thing that you can do is to learn to ask the right questions. People will teach you everything that you need to know if you just listen. So approach sales like a reporter. Even right now in this conversation, come to our cohort, our live interaction with questions. What questions do you have for me in light of this conversation here? Start jotting them down. Hopefully you have 5 or 6. Your goal isn't to sell first, it's to understand first. Think about that. Your goal isn't to sell first, it's to understand first. The bottom line is curiosity wins. Bad reps ask those surface level lazy questions. Hey, I want to pick your brain. I'm kind of curious about this. Was wondering if we could get together and talk about medical sales. Hey, I was wondering if we could talk. No, great reps ask thoughtful, research, and engaging questions. If you want to break into this industry and you're reaching out to other reps, start practicing it right now. If you're trying to break into medical sales, start practicing curiosity now. Be the person who takes initiative, does the research, and asks better questions. Because when you're genuinely curious, you won't just sell better. You'll learn faster. You'll grow quicker. You'll earn the trust of those who are around you. Be an energy giver, not an energy taker. Every interaction you have with others adds energy or it takes it away. People naturally gravitate towards, energy. People generally, are drawn to be around energy givers. Those who uplift, encourage, bring solutions. Conversely, energy takers drain the room with negativity, complaints, or self-centeredness. Our tendency with all of us, every time we wake up in the morning, we want to be, our feelings will tell us be an energy taker, be negative, but we got to tell ourselves to be positive. If you want to be a leader, if you want to be a great teammate, be that person. Be someone that people love to be around. Choose to be an energy giver. Let's just kind of talk practically how we can do this. Encourage others, uplift others. We find this in our cohort, people that are inspiring one another, encouraging one another. I know I just got an email from Tim who had some tips, some things that he's been reading, some things that he's been learning from. We had another rep applied to a job, and he was able to share some insights about a company with some other people who might want to apply to that company as well. So they give compliments. They celebrate the wins, whether it's big or small. They bring enthusiasm. Energy is contagious, but people leave conversations. When you're around someone who's contagious, you'll be excited and you won't be exhausted. They offer solutions, not just problems. And that's what we want to do. What about energy takers? Well, they constantly complain. They interrupt. They dominate the conversations. They talk on and on about themselves. That's why I love our cohort. It's not just me talking, but it's the interaction of the whole community. And you know what? I'll learn from you guys as well, because, the game's always changing. Companies change. Some of the companies are not the same they were 3 months ago, 6 months ago. And I love it when you bring energy to our calls. Also, what are people that are energy takers? Well, they're negative. They're shooting down ideas. Well, I can't get in. Medical sales is just too hard for me. It's just not where I fit in. I don't have the right degree. I don't know the right people. I don't have the right education. I'm just going to try to figure it out on my own. No, don't be an energy taker. Be an energy giver. You can grow. You can change lives. Think about this. Right now, maybe you're not making a lot of money. But what if in a couple of years you're making $250,000? What if in 5 years you're making $400,000, $500,000? What if in 10 years from now your house is paid off? You got over $1 million in your 401k. You have over $1 million worth of stock. In 10 years, your life can change. What if you got into an industry that made you more confident as a person? You might find your spouse. Some of you are in a career, you're like, well, I care so much about this. But you've been working so hard, and guess what? Your spouse is miserable because you come home so tired and worn out. You're giving your all to a career because you want to make a difference, but you're worn out. But how about jumping into something that allows you to be more confident? Why? Because you're changing the lives of cancer patients. You're seeing, patients with heart disease making great progress, and their lives are being saved. And guess what? You're making a lot more money too. So now you're able to be positive around your family. And when you date, you're more fun. You go to nicer restaurants, you have more fun because guess what? You're making money and you're investing it, and you're investing in yourself as well. Be an energy giver. Before each action, ask yourself, will I leave this person feeling better or worse after talking to me? And hopefully in this conversation, yes, there are things that are negative. I mean, we talk about them, but hopefully you'll feel encouraged. Hopefully you'll feel support, and you'll feel more once you become a part of this community, once you join our cohort, and you'll be mindful of solutions. You'll be fully present. I just want to encourage you to be fully present. And I want to do that when I'm talking to you, when I'm coaching you one-on-one. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to engage in you. I'm going to contribute specifically to the job and the career that you want for yourself. For you, it might be that you want to be on call in the operating room. And I'm going to do my best to make you work. It may be a smaller company you want to work for. It may be a large one, the big five. I'm going to help you. For some of you, you want to be in a special pharmaceutical sales. And you want to make a difference in the lives of patients who have rare disease. I'm going to help you. I want to encourage you, and you're going to do this too, be an energy giver. A collaborative mindset is that we need to collaborate. When you get into this industry, you'll be working with others, physicians, pharmacists, nurses, administrators, and even other sales reps. Zig Ziglar said you can get everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. You know, he lived that. I was fortunate to meet him a couple of times, to talk to him, to learn from him before he passed away. You know, he was kind to endorse one of the first books that I, wrote years ago. It was called Why Trust Jesus. But Ziglar he was an encourager. I remember him telling me, and I would see him and I would ask him, Mr. Ziglar, how are you? And he was always positive. He would say things like, better than good. I'm doing better than good. He was enthusiastic. I remember there was this other older man that I collaborated with on some books. His name was Josh McDowell. And when people would ask Josh, how are you doing, Josh? And he was speaking from like 30,000 people. And Josh would say, absolutely phenomenal. And that positive attitude that you have right now, even though maybe right now you're not in the job you want to be in, start having that positive attitude because it will carry over and you will succeed. But just help other people. Help them with their dreams. In our cohort, when you're learning new things, share them with your teammates. You who are in Dallas, share it with someone who's in Connecticut. You who are in Connecticut, share it with our guys over in Arizona, out in California as well. We can learn from each other. Collaboration beyond the cell. Okay, so often I see reps, I see many of you go into the office and you're laser focused on the physician. Your success depends on the collaboration at every level. Physicians and decision makers. Of course, you need to engage with a doctor, but how are you making their life easier? And once you bring that doctor along, are you educating? Are you problem solving? And at the appropriate time, are you asking if you can help? If this was of help to them, can you help a colleague? Are you getting the name of another colleague as well? What about nurses, nurse navigators, medical assistants? Now, these are the gatekeepers. They see every patient before the physician does, and their input influences prescribing treatment decisions. Do you ask them good questions? Do you understand their challenges? Are you seen as an ally or just another sales rep who's dropping off a lunch? Do you remember their names? What about the billing and the financial team? These are often the unsung heroes. I mean, they spend a lot of time on the phone. Whether you're selling the clinical benefits, they're fighting insurance companies for coverage. And if treatment isn't reimbursed, it won't get prescribed. And you need to work with them. Are you bringing along your field reimbursement manager, collaborating with them to ensure that they have the tools they need? Are you making the job easy for the person on your field reimbursement manager? Are you making it easy for them so that they can have that easy access to the office, to the billing team? What about key account managers? You'll collaborate with key account managers. Some of you might even go right into this, medical science liaisons. If you're in pharma or biotech, your MSLs are the ones who do those deep dives into medical discussions. Are you leveraging their expertise? What about if you're in a hurry and a doctor asks you a very tough off-label question? What if that doctor isn't that interested in your drug, but they're really interested in clinical trials? Are you opening up the door for them to talk to your MSL? Are you a warm and friendly voice that says, well, I can't speak to that because it's off-label, but I would be glad to submit a medical inquiry so that you can talk to the right person? Because if you have that positive attitude, you're helping them to discover their questions. You're building trust, not just for yourself, but also for your company. And it will help you later down the line. And who knows, maybe they'll start ordering on label. And even though they go over here and they work with the MSL, the medical science liaison, and you're out of those conversations, you don't even know what's going on, which is good because you want to keep them separate in pharmaceutical. But you never know that in the mind of that physician, they begin trusting your company where previously they were turned off. They didn't think that your company really cared about oncology or heart disease or rare disease. And yet you're building trust. What about the other sales reps in your accounts? Do you see them as competition because they schedule lunches? Do you collaborate with them? Do you celebrate their wins? And if you work in pharmaceutical sales, say you work in cancer, it's probably true that your division has several cancer drugs. And maybe you sell in breast cancer, but there's a lung cancer rep. There's a multiple myeloma rep. There's a prostate cancer rep. Are you collaborating with them? And when they get in and have success, are you celebrating their wins? Are you just trying to use them and leverage them so that they can introduce you to people? Are you pouring into them and bringing them along and sharing insights to them? Maybe there's there's a gatekeeper. Maybe there's a nurse navigator who will schedule in-services. Are you willing to introduce that person to your colleagues? So there's really just a collaborative mindset between your colleagues at your company. If you do these things, you will win. And guess what? I believe your numbers will go up as well. Let's just get back to that quote from Zig Ziglar. Okay, look here. You can get everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. And you can help your teammates as well in your division. I'm excited about how you're growing. You want to collaborate, imagine you walk into the oncology clinic. You greet the receptionist by name. They're important. That receptionist is important. You acknowledge their role. You understand maybe the person that has a rude personality, but you're sympathetic towards them. You build trust. You have a quick conversation with the nurse navigator. You're asking questions. You're also talking to the billing coordinator. You're then later, setting up a meeting with your field reimbursement manager. You're getting pharmacy engaged. You're understanding the difficulties, with formulary and making sure there's no issue ordering the treatment that you're selling. You're also connecting medical inquiries so that your MSL can answer those questions that might be off-label. You're also checking in with your TLL, your thought leader liaison. That's the person who will often have ad boards, who's, and you're mentioning doctors that you're meeting to your TLL so that when that TLL has a dinner program or an ad board, you're introducing them to your doctors. Now, short term, you may not see any more orders on your drug. You might not see it in your paycheck in a couple of weeks, but long term, it's going to help you. Long term, it's going to help your company. Long term, you're going to win over your colleagues as well. You can do it. You can win. Think beyond the physician. Be a resource, not just a rep. Work with your internal partners on your team. That means field reimbursement. Now, by the way, for those of you wanting to break in, if you have a clinical background, if you've served as a nurse or nurse manager, or you have a PhD, these jobs like field reimbursement manager, MSL, thought leader liaisons, these are positions, CAM, key account manager, these are all roles that will be great for you if you have a clinical background. If you don't, and you just have a sales background, I encourage you to get into one of your sales roles, a sales specialist role, territory manager, where it means you're, managing the territory. Those are the roles that you want to get into. Okay, thank you so much. Let's just close on this, the ASK framework. This is an acronym I came up with. You want to, when you talk to people, ask about their Infinity, build a personal connection with that person, their background, such as their family, their hobbies, their college, their city. S, study their needs, understand their challenges, their devices, their, the drugs. What about the cost, the access for the patients, the coverage, the payer, the insurance? What about the hospital burdens, the efficacy? And then K is knowledge-driven questions. After you've asked about the Infinity and you've studied their needs, then you start breaking into these knowledge-driven questions. doctor, what have you discovered so far that's been helpful in addressing patients who have this challenge? And then you can be very specific with it. If you have these things, they will help you in the industry. All right. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you who are part of our cohort, we look forward to having you in these interactions. We're going to have lots of great interaction, talking about these insights, going back and forth, and we're going to grow together in it. And for those of you who aren't sure if you want to break in, join us now. Right now, the cost of Medical Sales U is only $3,600. The price in the future is going to go up, but we're keeping it here at $3,600 for right now. And so I'm going to promise that, to you here for the next 3 months. Okay. $3,600. So join us. We would love to have you be a part of our community. This career can change your life. Thank you.